Oh, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. It's good to be back once again. I hope you guys have had a wonderful day. It's been quite a bit of an up and down day for me, quite tiring, really, to be honest with you guys. But yeah, we move on. We soldier on regardless. We grind it out, and we are back to speak all matters sport because a lot of interesting things are happening or have happened in the last 10 hours of absentia ever since we last met in the morning, for that fruitful conversation that we did have in the morning. Very wonderful debate, by the way, that we did have in the morning. So anyways, this is lengthy. Okay, just trying to set a few things straight here. To make sure okay. So as I wait for the rest of you guys to join this evening's broadcast, so how has your day been? Do let me know down in the comment section. I ought to just a second. Yeah, make sure all your messages can stream through so that we do not miss any single one of them, really, because your feedback is of the ultimate importance to us, really. So it's really crucial that we do not miss any of your feedback. But it's good to have you back. It's really nice to have you back. And tonight we're going to be speaking a great deal of things, including Leroy Sane, Joao Felix, Raheem Sterling, among many others. So allow me to test our audios here before we get our conversation started. Really, I think the sound is okay. I think just nothing. Hi, just nothing. Keep it up, man. Thank you, just nothing. Kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. But it's a pleasure to have you on the broadcast. And then I can see Lucid Gamer. Hi, Lucid Gamer. How are you doing? What are you doing this stream for? This stream is for Football Tribe UG channel. It's a sports channel. It's a football content channel. But thank you for joining us. Do let me know where you're joining us from. But more importantly, please like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here and help me grow and help support my channel by doing those actions. I can see Charles Alex says, God bless brother from California. Thank you so much, Charles, for the love and support. Please consider subscribing to my channel and help me grow. But thank you so much for that word of encouragement, that blessing, and God bless you too in your personal endeavors as well. So yeah, it's a football channel, it's a sports channel. We do get here on every single morning and every single night to talk football. What is your favorite player and club in football? My favorite club is Arsenal, and then my favorite player of all time is Ronaldinho Gaucho, the Assis Moreira. That's so speaking. I can see Pandi. Is it Pandi? You say buy a power Teng. Now, Teng is a famous TikToker in Uganda. I don't know if it's the one you're referring to, really, but I thank you for being part of the broadcast. Sorry, brother. Bran. Okay. I do not understand some of the words you're texting. Probably they're in your native language, but apologies. But if you're from India, thank you so much, Team India. India have been really kind to me. They've really supported this channel. They've subscribed to the channel. They've watched our content. They've been part of these broadcasts. They've engaged, They've submitted. We've had quite lengthy, conversations with them. We've spoken about their love for cricket. I've been extended multiple invitations to travel to India and, see how beautiful the country is. Unfortunately, I'm yet to build that capacity to allow me, honor those invitations in the form of logistics. But we will get there one step at a time. But I do really, really appreciate those invitations that have been extended to me by a lot of fans from India and beyond. So much appreciated for the love and support, for your feedback, for engaging with the channel, for watching our content. For those of you that, go to the channel and watch, the shorts section and watch those shorts, thank you so much for the love and support. For those that go to the video section and you watch those videos, for those that, join us every single night, every single morning, for these broadcasts, I know they do come late in the night, especially when it comes to Indian time. In Uganda, it's about 11, a quarter past 11 p.m., but I do know for a fact that elsewhere it is, about 1 a.m. Sometimes it's midnight, and yet people like Safa Ali do sacrifice their time to join us from Turkey. He's a Fenerbahce fan, a Real Madrid and Arsenal fan, respectively, in those respective different leagues. We've had colleagues like Peter Parker. He's one of the other usual suspects that does, support what we do on this channel. Just nothing says he is speaking. You do. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Mera auto correction. Hi, Spanish. Okay. You guys go ahead and have the chat. I know you will understand each other in that same breath. But again, before we start the conversation tonight, I'm interested in knowing where you guys are joining us from. But if you're from India, thank you so much. Really, I do really appreciate the love and support from Team India. So, for example, people who are with in the morning, some of the people who are with in the morning broadcast, I want to send a special shout out to you guys. Peter Parker, Zero, Requiem, a Liverpool fan there. Sorry, he's not a Liverpool fan, but happy that he was happy that Liverpool have overspent to sign Florian Wirtz instead of Ryan Checky. We had H games in the morning broadcast. We had February. I mean, those are some of the colleagues that did join us for our morning broadcast, among others whose names I do not seem to recall. But again, much appreciated for the love and support to help this channel continue to grow. Really, baby steps, and we will get there eventually. The goal is to monetize, by the way, guys. That's the objective, at least for now. And then, of course, grow our subscriber base to even bigger numbers. We're currently at about 1,240, around that figure. But thank you so much for those that have supported me on this journey ever since we started it. Of course, we had a slow start like most people, but you guys could give me the encouragement to keep going forward in as far as this pursuit is concerned. Prince Nkosi is one of our usual suspects. Good evening to you, my brother. It's always a pleasure to have you. I was just giving out special shout outs. Maria Momoto, one of the other usual suspects. Okoyo Amlen, one of the other usual suspects. Boss Royal, Safa Ali, and all the rest. Ahmad Septa from Indonesia, and everybody else that does support what we do. But anyways, that's the introductory part of it. But let's start maybe things at Manchester City, where Jack Grealish, it's now official. We had already reported about this news that he would be left out of the Manchester City squad for the FIFA Club World Cup, and now that's official. He's been left out of the squad, as he's expected to leave Manchester City this summer. Now, there's a lot of interest from the likes of Tottenham Hotspur and Newcastle and Everton. They've expressed interest in signing the 29-year-old, Englishman who seeks to find regular playing time as players next season. It's going to be a race for players to impress their national team managers so that they can be selected to be part of their respective national team squads. Now, it goes without saying that England, by the way, were thumped by Senegal 3-1 in a friendly just the other night. But for Jack Grealish, that's the objective. He still wants to get back in that England squad for the FIFA World Cup come 2026. And for him to achieve that, he is being deemed surplus to requirements at Manchester City, so he needs to find a club elsewhere. Fortunately or unfortunately for him, he still has 2 years left to his current contract at Manchester City, so an exit deal won't really come cheap, either for him or his potential suitors. The most plausible occurrence could be a loan deal, maybe with an option or obligation to buy for whatever club he may choose to go to. And I think it was the other day when we were having a lengthy discussion about Jack Grealish in regards to where he should go, and in comparison to the early suitors that are there among even West Ham, who have been sort of recommended in a way. And as saying that if you want to join, if you're Jack Grealish, out of your suitors, apparently, including Bayer Leverkusen, Newcastle, Tottenham Hotspurs, Everton, and then wishfully West Ham United, out of all those options, exploring at his age, at 29, exploring, life elsewhere, like in Germany, may not be really the most ideal scenario or choice to make at the time. But again, it will be a bold choice to make for him, given what his objective going into next season is. It will be quite the bold objective. But I do know that Bayer Leverkusen have been reported among those clubs that are considering signing him, especially in the week that Bayer Leverkusen are on the verge of losing Florian Wirtz, who is destined for a move to Liverpool. Then, top of those considerations for me would be between Newcastle and Tottenham Hotspurs. Why? Because their participation in Europe, specifically in the UEFA Champions League, means that there is going to be plenty of games to play. And we do know that, for example, particularly that Tottenham Hotspurs squad is one that has suffered a plethora of injuries, and you ought to sort of think about it and say, maybe, just maybe, I could get more playing time there, because oftentimes Dejan Kulusevski, as good a player he is, oftentimes he is injured. At least last season he was. James Maddison, anytime he gets injured, you could be a replacement for him, or Dejan Kulusevski. You never know. I think you can find a playing time there, really. That's if it is deemed that Thomas Frank has a place for you. Prince Nkosi does ask, has Real Betis made an offer for Anthony to Manchester United? And not that I'm aware of, but there are some preliminary conversations that have been held between the two clubs to assess a potential deal. So maybe just to conclude on Jack Grealish, and then we get into the depth of that submission from Prince Nkosi. Is that so? If you're Jack Grealish, you're thinking at least Tottenham is one of those primary options. They're going to be under a new manager. Water under the bridge for almost all of those players. We do not know who is going to exit or who else is going to be coming in, but you could bet on yourself that you have the capability to even get into the starting 11 of that team, or at least be a potent replacement for any of those top guys in there. Then at Newcastle, the other day we were speaking, of course, I do not think you could displace Jacob Murphy, who had a tally of about 20 Premier League, goal involvement. I think about 8 goals and 12 assists for the 30-year-old. Again, the age profile is basically the same. So he would get up. Jacob Murphy would still get ahead. But I think with Newcastle being in the UEFA Champions League, the Premier League, and all the domestic cups that they will have to participate in, bearing in mind that they are the defending champions of the Carabao Cup, that means that there can be more room for a player like Jack Grealish. And I do think he could potentially thrive under Eddie Howe. So there you have it. Jack Grealish officially left out of the Manchester City squad for the FIFA Club World Cup. Guys, if you're just joining us, please kindly like the broadcast. But if you're also new, please consider subscribing to the channel as well. Then let's, since Prince Nkosi has already introduced the topic, let's make the one to Manchester United and speak about Anthony. Now, Anthony has also been subject to speculation with a move away from Manchester United. We all know that things have not really gone well for him at Man United. He pretty much said as much in his recent interviews when he was summoned to the Brazilian national team. In some of those interviews, for those of you that may have watched them, you must have seen him, shed tears during the course of those interviews. And for those of you that haven't, he did shed tears speaking about how things had gone south for him at Manchester United, that he wasn't happy. He just didn't. He just felt out of place in more ways than not, and that kind of thing. And that when he went to Real Betis, then life took a coin flip, and it changed for the better. And he felt more of himself. He felt happy. He felt welcomed there. He felt appreciated. He felt that he was not sort of an outsider looking in, for lack of a better word, in description to comparison between life for him at Real Betis in comparison to life at Carlington, and that's the Manchester United training ground, and that kind of thing. So it's well, of course, the moment things clicked for him at Real Betis, the manager Manuel Pellegrini trusted him even more, giving him more game time, more responsibility, and he took that responsibility, embraced it with open arms, and sort of took his chance. That's how he ended up scoring 9 goals and providing 5 assists during the course of 4 months, more numbers than he had posted, I think, in the last 1.5 years or 2 years at Manchester United. So clearly that speaks to that. Now, in the wake of that kind of performance, Real Betis fans did say they ought to keep Anthony. One of their club legends, his name sort of eludes me, but I hope I can remember it during the course of this conversation. Or if anybody does remember it, please let me know what that name is. But he did say that even if it needs to start a GoFundMe page, the Betis fans should pretty much start it to try and sign Anthony on a permanent basis. So that's pretty much how much they appreciated the player. So in regards to whether, yes, Joaquin, yes, that's Joaquin, the player whose name I was looking for. It's Joaquin. So in regards to that, so that's how much they really appreciated the player, and they would love to keep him. So after the season ended, of course, them losing to Chelsea 4-1 in the finals of the UEFA Conference League, there was they did make inquiries. With Manchester United, they did have a conversation about what it would cost them to sign Anthony on a permanent deal. However, details to those engagements have yet to come light. Nonetheless, that has not stopped, the player being linked with a potential move to Bayer Leverkusen, where his former manager at Ajax and at Manchester United, Erik ten Hag, is now employed as the new head coach in the aftermath of Xabi Alonso's departure. So again, it's sort of to be expected in some form of way. Usually when the manager leaves the club, they are bound to be, linked with a potential move to some of their players. We've seen it with so many managers over the years. Most recently, we've seen it with Ruben Amorim at Manchester United, being linked with a potential move for Victor Gyökeres. They did want to sign the 17-year-old Giovanni Quenda, but Chelsea beat them to that signing and things of that nature. So Ten Hag is equally being linked with a potential move for Anthony. And actually, as part of the conversation we were having in the morning, or the debate, we did have a submission from Zero Requiem, who said that he alluded to something that Erik ten Hag could use all the money out of the sale of Jeremy Frimpong and Florian Wirtz spent there by Liverpool to sign those 2 players, to then go and buy Manchester United players, which could fund Manchester United's rebuild. He alluded to something of that nature, and he was responding to a submission by H Games, and he said, not to dampen your spirits, H Games, the money spent on Florian Wirtz is going to be spent by Erik ten Hag on Manchester United players and helping United rebuild. So that was his submission, particularly. And it got me thinking, because remember, Manchester United have 2 players that could be leaving, that were signed by Erik ten Hag. And one of those is Tyler Maracia, who spent the last half of the season on loan at PSV Eindhoven. And then you have Anthony, who spent the last half of the season on loan to Real Betis. Those could be concrete options. And then the other player that has also been linked with the potential move to Bayer Leverkusen is Alejandro Garnacho, only 20 years of age, for the Argentine international, who has reportedly been told by Ruben Amorim that he needs to find a new club. So it's not too remote to sort of entertain those thoughts, that kind of debate, that indeed some Manchester United players could find their way at the Bayer Leverkusen. But let's wait and see if those sort of speculations do hold any water to them. And then let's move away from Manchester. Okay, let's do the 360 at Manchester United before we gravitate away from them. They are interested in signing Victor Gyökeres. They've made those inquiries. And I've made the argument before you guys, for those of you that are often here, that it's increasingly more likely that Victor Gyökeres ends up at Manchester United than at the grounds of any other potential suitors out there, unless otherwise. Because even without UEFA Champions League football or European football, Manchester United is still a gigantic club. They're still a very big brand in football. They still have the money. Yes, we do know they have concerns over profit and sustainability rules and things of that nature. But yes, they can still spend some money. They are capable of paying players high wages. And we do know that they will be letting go of a good number of players, the likes of Anthony, Garnacho, Marcus Rashford. All those are going to be sold, for some amount of fee. So they will be bringing in resources that help them, reinvest in their squad, and that's why they've already signed Matthias Cunha for £62.5 million at a time when we're saying their finances are not in the best of places. They're exploring the deal to sign Brandon Boomer from Brentford. They did make a first bid that was turned down and went in with the second bid for which we are yet to find out what the response from Brentford is officially. And then also there's now serious interest in Victor Gyökeres after they missed out on signing Liam Delap from Ipswich because he ended up at Chelsea, as we already know, and that kind of thing. That among other players that have been linked with the potential move to Manchester United, including Aston Villa goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez. We do know that there is interest there that has been reported. But United are also interested in another goalkeeper. I forget his name, but he does play his football in France. I think if I do find the name, I'll be able to remember it. Sorry about that. But at least they are considering signing a goalkeeper. That is out there, as part of the discussions at Manchester United that are ongoing. So really, they will be in the market to do some business, and they will expect a good number of departures. We all know that Bruno Fernandes has turned down the opportunity to go to Saudi Pro League and chose to stay at Manchester United with the team there. So that is that. And then, so with that respect, it takes me back to, again, part of the debate or discussion we did have in the morning. Somebody did ask me this question, that why, that he asked about my thoughts about why only Manchester United would be looking to sign Victor Gyökeres, but no bigger clubs, and said the likes of Arsenal. And he was wondering, is Victor Gyökeres going to be the next Darwin Núñez? Now, again, we looked at Darwin Núñez. While his numbers are not the worst, it also goes without saying that they are not the best that there is in terms of strikers, based on what they spent on the player and then on what the return on investment should be. Ever since he joined Liverpool, there's no season where he scored close to 15 goals in a Premier League season. And for a striker they bought at that fee, well in his prime, at 25 years of age, you sort of can't help but wonder that why has he not hit those numbers? So he was trying to ask, is there a worry about Victor Gyökeres that he could be the next Darwin Núñez, that a player you buy expensively and probably does not hit the numbers you expect him to hit? And I did say that according to most clubs, at least all those that have been linked with potential moves for him, the likes of Juventus that have inquired about his availability, the likes of Arsenal, the likes of Chelsea, have all of them do not have him as their number one target in terms of priority. clubs sort of, when they identify a position where they want to fill or where they think they need a player, they will come with a short list of options. Maybe plan A, plan B, plan C, maybe even D. That our priority is to sign this player for this position. And if we do fail to sign that player for that position, then we ought to find a second best alternative. And then the hierarchy goes down that way in that list. One of the examples I can give you is when Arsenal, back in 2023, when they wanted to sign Mukalo Mudryk, who ended up at Chelsea. Mukalo Mudryk was their top target, but they missed out on him, and then that's when they ended up with Leandro Trossard, which worked out well for them, really. And then maybe the other example I can allude you to is Manchester City in this very transfer window. Their number one priority target was Florian Wirtz, but once they deemed that deal too expensive for them to handle at the moment, they went for plan B, who was Rancheki, who they've already got now for about 36 million euros in a transfer fee plus another 6 expected in add-ons, and then they do have in their Olympic Lyon do have a 15% sell on clause, so on a future sell and that kind of thing. So usually clubs do have a plan A, a plan B in regards to that hierarchy. So when it comes to the case of Victor Gyökeres, for example, at Arsenal, number one was Alexander Isak, number two was Benjamin Sesko, then Victor Gyökeres comes in there among the rest, Then when you go to Liverpool, it's been Ugo Ekitike, Benjamin Sesko, and others. When you go to Chelsea, again, it's been Ugo Ekitike, Benjamin Sesko, Victor Gyökeres. That's the hierarchy. When you go to Juventus, it's Victor Osimhen, and maybe Victor Gyökeres in second place. So in that kind of order, so you can see, he is wondering, do these big clubs have any worry whatsoever that a player like Victor Gyökeres, with as good as the numbers he's managed to post in the seasons gone by, could he be the next Darwin Núñez if he were to make the transfer to the Premier League? Let's look at his numbers. Before he went to Portugal, he had scored in 2 seasons. That was, I think, 2021-2022. He scored 18 goals for Coventry in the Championship. Then 2022-2023, he scored 23 goals in the Championship for Coventry. And then he made the switch to, Sporting Lisbon, where in his debut season in 2023-2024, he made 33 appearances and scored 29 goals and provided 10 assists. That's a goal contribution of 39 in 33 games. Quite impressive. And then last season, in 33 appearances, he scored 39 goals. That's 10 more than he had managed the previous season. And then provided 7 assists. That's a 46 goal contribution in 33 games. Now, those numbers are quite remarkable, quite impressive. If those numbers had been posted by any player whatsoever in the Premier League, first of all, in the Premier League alone, that would be a record goal scoring season for a player, because I think the highest we've had is 34 by the likes of Alan Shearer back in 1994-95, at the likes of Andre Cole, Alan Shearer at Blackburn Rovers at the time when they were winning the Premier League title under Ken Dalglish in 95. Andrew Cole at Newcastle, 1993-1994. He posted, the goal scoring numbers of 34 in that season. And all the other players that have gone on to hit such numbers, in that region, but Erling Haaland, Mohamed Salah, etc. So if these numbers were in the German Bundesliga, in the Spanish La Liga, in the French League One itself, in the Premiership, they will be making heads turn much more than they are making heads turn that he posted these numbers in the Portuguese league. So even with all that overall goal contribution, you look at the Champions League, 8 games, 6 goals scored, and 1 assist. I mean, he almost does guarantee a goal in every single game, literally, on average. And when it comes to the league, he averages more than 1 goal, per match. So as good as those numbers are, I think some of these teams, gigantic teams, have looked at that and said, okay, he's good a player, but this is his kind of playing style. Does it suit our playing style? And I think many of those teams do acknowledge that as good as a player he is, quite athletic, quite energetic, physically strong, and things of that nature, they do wonder that will he post similar numbers when he makes the switch? Then two, if they do sign him, doesn't he cause them to change sort of their playing style? Vanna, I think your name is Vanna. Hi Vanna, how are you doing? Big up to yourself. Thank you so much. Big up to yourself, Vanna. Thank you for joining us. Kindly like this broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel, please, and help me grow. But big up on yourself, my brother. Excuse me. So for me, that's the larger context of the debate. We've seen it at Manchester City when they signed about Erling Haaland. They had to change their playing style to suit how broad Erling Haaland plays so that they can get the best out of him. So practically, most of the teams that could potentially sign him are looking at him in that breadth. So for me, and when you look at the fact that it is Ruben Amorim who signed him at Sporting Lisbon, being the manager at Manchester United, I think the writing is on the wall that he knows how to play to his strength. He knows how to set up his team to play to his strength, and already he is trying to implement that very system that he did have at Sporting Lisbon. Vanna says, Chelsea fan, not for me. Are you a Chelsea fan, Vanna? Do let us know. Are you a Chelsea fan? And by the way, where are you joining us from, Vanna? Which country? Please let us know. But personally, I'm not a Chelsea fan. I'm an Arsenal fan, a Real Madrid fan, but more importantly, at least number one of all, I'm a football fan. And that's why I can't sit here behind the screen and speak objectively about Liverpool, about Man United, and any other team. You know, at least that for me, that's how I look at things. Anyways, yes, I could be biased once in a while here or there. That never goes away. You know, when you have a team that you support, sometimes it's bound to come out, but at least I try to be balanced and as objective as possible. So that's the conversation around Manchester United. That's the conversation around Victor Gyökeres. Then quickly, let's leave Victor Gyökeres and go to Chelsea. I'm a Chelsea fan from Malaysia. Oh, good luck, Arsenal. Oh, how is Malaysia? Malaysia. Kuala Lumpur, yes. That's where Manchester United had just been for their early Asian tour, Malaysia. I do not know. There is a channel called Cool Vision. That's where I first saw, glimpse of Malaysia. But good to have you there, Vanna, from Malaysia. Good. And a Chelsea fan. Good luck to you, by the way, on your efforts in the FIFA Club World Cup, in which your team is going to be participating. I hope you'll be following all that, those events from there. But good luck to you. So let's go to Chelsea. Now, some developments at Chelsea is that a good number of players have been left out of that Chelsea squad for the FIFA Club World Cup. I mean, it was to be expected, in more ways than not, because Chelsea have so many players on their roster. They have so many players. And over the years, at least over the last 3 years, they've gone on to sign tens and tens of players, really, for different positions. Before they lost Marcus Bentinelli, the goalkeeper who has joined Manchester City as their third choice goalkeeper, they had about 8 goalkeepers on their roster. And indeed, they've had to leave one of them off the squad for the FIFA Club World Cup. And among those that have been frozen out or left out of that squad is Joao Felix. This one, they first signed him last season, but one on a season-long loan from Atletico Madrid. And sorry, it was a half-season loan, actually, for the second part of the season. And then they thought, they were convinced to them, or to the best of their knowledge, he did enough to convince them that he was worthy of making a permanent signing. And they signed him permanently from Atletico Madrid. And it has not worked out. Maybe it will work out in the future. We can never say never, but it doesn't look likely at the moment, because after being signed permanently, I thought I thought he wasn't doing too bad, especially when it came to the UEFA Conference League appearances, where they were playing much lesser teams. And after the first half of the season, he was loaned to AC Milan, where he only scored about 2 goals, I think, in about 15 or 17 appearances, which wasn't a good return on investment. And that's why AC Milan chose not to sign him on a permanent transfer. So he's one of those that have been left out. The other is Raheem Sterling. This one already spent last season on loan to Arsenal, where he again didn't. He was an underperformer, to say the least. So I think for Raheem Sterling, the writing was on the wall. He was told last summer that he was surplus to requirements, so he needs to find a place elsewhere. Axel Disasi did spend last season's second half of the season on loan to Aston Villa. So again, another one left out of the squad. Dejad, sorry, not Dejad, but Jody Petrovic. That's a goalkeeper who spent last season on loan to Strasbourg alongside his teammate in Andre Santos. Both Chelsea players spent last season on loan at their sister club in Strasbourg, and they've both been left. Sorry, he's been left out of the squad. That's Petrovic, but Andre Santos has been included in that squad. For those of you, Vanna, you say we had an opportunity to sign Mainan, but we didn't. Then we left Petrovic out of the squad. It's a long story, bro. Lolo, I don't like Sanchez. Now, I think Sanchez is one of those goalkeepers. By the way, Robert Sanchez is a very good. He's a good goalkeeper by all measures and accounts. Not in the top bins, but at least he's a good goalkeeper. For a team like Chelsea, I think he would be a suitable number 2, really, given the kinds of goalkeepers they've had over the years. Look back at the likes of Petchek, look back at Thibaut Courtois, who have been really, really impressive goalkeepers for Chelsea. But that notwithstanding, yes, they did try to sign Mike Maignan from AC Milan, but those discussions, the two parties could not agree to a transfer fee, and that's how that deal sort of. I don't want to say collapse, because hope is not lost. Discussions apparently will still continue during and after the FIFA Club World Cup. Chelsea will still try to go in, because Mike Maignan has only 1 year left to his contract with AC Milan, and Chelsea value him at about 15 to 18 million euros at the very best, while AC Milan are looking to hold it out for about 25 to 30 million euros, which according to Chelsea is quite too high for a goalkeeper who is at 29 years of age, only left with 1 year on his contract. They could basically wait it out and say, let's come back in January and we'll have a conversation on a pre-agreement. So because there you're allowed to do, to have engagements with clubs outside the host league and that kind of thing. So Chelsea are not in any sort of rush to try and sign him, while they would have loved to have him available for the FIFA Club World Cup. And I've spoken here before what the FIFA Club World Cup means to Chelsea as a club. It's an opportunity to win a piece of silverware. All the participating teams want to be the first club that wins this new edition of the FIFA Club World Cup that is composed of 32 teams in 8 groups, play through the group stages, pretty much like the UEFA Champions League has been over the years. But this time around, are not playing home and away. You play one single game against your opponent in the group stages, which is a total of 3 games. So, in that sense, then Chelsea have American owners American owners. The tournament is in America. Why not win it, quote unquote, on home soil in front of your owners and that kind of thing, and try to win more fans over in the US and that kind of thing. So that's what the tournament in itself means for Chelsea. But Chelsea are in no rush really to sign a goalkeeper. Last summer they signed, I think, Mike Penders, one of the young goalkeepers, and so in that kind of sense, really. But they'll try again. Sanchez is loved by his former manager. That's Graham Potter, who is currently at West Ham. When Chelsea were offered the opportunity to sign Mohamed Kudus from West Ham, West Ham did inquire about the availability of Robert Sanchez and Keenan Dewsbury Hall. So we all know. So I think if West Ham sort of stick it up, they could really persuade him away from Chelsea, because there are no guarantees that Sanchez will be Chelsea's #1 goalkeeper. As good as a goalkeeper he is, he's made some blunders that have made Chelsea fans like Vanna here say, we can do better. We can do better. When they look around at teams like Arsenal, where you have David Wire, who for the second season running was the Golden Glove winner, they look at what Matt Sells was able to do at Nottingham Forest, although sort of their playing style did do a huge amount of favor to that, given how conservative Nuno Espirito Santo teams tend to play. But at least they look at that. You look at a goalkeeper like Mark Flecken, who has been at Brentford. He's since now joined by Leverkusen, and then Brentford signed Kelleher from Liverpool for £18 million as a replacement. And I was wondering, I sat there thinking to myself, Kelleher would walk into that Chelsea team and be a #1 goalkeeper. Why did Chelsea not think of doing that if indeed they really wanted a goalkeeper? But anyways, that's only a speculation for us. But at least he's one of those. That's the conversation around Chelsea and goalkeepers. But Petrovic has been left out of the squad. Axel Disasi, Raheem Sterling, Joao Felix, Ben Chilwell. Of course, Ben Chilwell also spent the second half of last season on loan to Crystal Palace. So then Kennedy, by the way, he won the FA Cup there, Ben Chilwell. And then Kennedy Piaz has been also left out. Renato Viega. Now, Renato Viega, we did watch Renato Viega recently in the finals of the UEFA Nations League as Real Madrid beat Spain 5-3 on penalties that proceeded a 2-2 draw in normal time to win their second accolade of the UEFA Nations League. I think Renato Viega came in the second half and really did impressively well there, but he has been left out of the squad. So all those have been left out of a Chelsea squad. I do know for a fact that Joao Felix's shirt number 14 has been given to Andre Santos. Yes, Andre Santos, the Brazilian midfielder, spent last season on loan to Strasbourg. So he did say he wants to play for Chelsea, going forward. So, and that kind of thing. We all know that for all the players that Chelsea has left out of, their squad for the FIFA Club World Cup, they are open to selling them. They are open to selling them. They are open to selling them if it does come to that. So I don't know. For some reason, some of Vanna's messages have disappeared, but at least we had read them. Anyways, let's proceed. Let's proceed. Then Chelsea tried to sign Jamie Gittens on yesterday's deadline day. The reason as to why I call it deadline day is because it was the deadline for the first opening of the early opening of the summer transfer window. That was from June 1st to June 10th. They tried to sign Jamie Gittens from Borussia Dortmund, who equally are going to be participating in the FIFA Club World Cup, and they failed. And they failed in those attempts. They tried to make a last-minute gossip for Hugo Ekitike to close that deal. It did not work out, of course, but Chelsea will continue to pursue both those players after the Club World Cup. So Hugo Ekitike, the 22-year-old French striker from Eintracht Frankfurt, I think scored 15 goals last season and provided, I think, 8 assists in the German Bundesliga alone. So very good player, very promising player that Chelsea are pursuing. But Liverpool have also made inquiries about Hugo Ekitike. They are really interested because they look, they are looking forward to moving on Darwin Núñez. So Vanna is asking who is better between Hugo Ekitike and Kudus. And now we cannot make the comparison, unfortunately, Vanna, because Hugo Ekitike is an outright striker, while Muhammad Kudus is a winger. So unless you wanted to compare maybe Muhammad Kudus versus Joao Felix, or versus Jordan Sancho, or versus Pedro Neto, or versus what's his name, Noni Madueke, those comparisons we can make, but between Ekitike and Kudus, I think it would be an unfair comparison. They are both very good players, I must acknowledge, Although for Muhammad Kudus, last season was a bit underwhelming, just pretty much the way it was overall for West Ham United. They really had an underwhelming season. They had to sack their manager in Julian Lopetegui and then replaced him with Graham Potter, who equally did sort of struggle to find a footing in that team, but at least they survived any form of relegation whatsoever, and they will live to fight on next season and get their house in order. They did sign players like Nicholas Fulcru, by the way, quite expensively, and I do not think it has paid off any results. They signed Ivan Ferguson on loan for the second part of the season from Brighton and Hove Albion. That one has equally not paid off. Now, again, Ivan Ferguson is one of those good players whose career has sort of taken a nosedive in recent times because of injuries predominantly and a lack of consistent game time, but that comes as a result of his never-ending injuries almost. So Ekitike is an outright striker. Yes, is an outright striker. Hugo Ekitike did really brilliantly well for last season at Frankfurt. Posting 15 goals in the season and provided 8 assists. That's a 23 goal contribution in 33 appearances. While the season before that was a 2023-2024, he made only 14 appearances and scored 4 goals and provided 2 assists. So he's under consideration for Chelsea as well as Liverpool. So those are transfer options that Chelsea will be exploring in the aftermath of either during the course or in the aftermath of the FIFA World Cup. So let's keep our eyes peeled on those as well. Then the other player we've spoken about is Jamie Gittens, who apparently Borussia Dortmund do value at a fee of about 60 to 65 million euros. For Hugo Ekitike, Eintracht Frankfurt have been clear that he will cost no less than 100 million euros for any suitors whatsoever. That's what they want. So for Jamie Gittens, last Chelsea's second bid that was turned down was about 50 million euros. So Jamie Gittens, only 20 years of age, last season made 32 appearances in the German Bundesliga, scored 8 goals and provided 3 assists. He's still a bit of a rough diamond, really, a bit of a rough diamond. A very, very good player. His final third decision making isn't always the best, but at least he does do his best, and he can be really patched up and improved. Then the season before that is 2023-2024, he made 25 appearances, scored 1 goal and provided 4 assists. While the season further down that was 2022-2023, made 15 appearances, scored 3 goals and provided 1 assist. So that sort of career trend has been is what has sort of caught the eyes of Chelsea, the likes of Arsenal, who all have been linked with the potential move for the 20-year-old England international, although it is Chelsea that have made their interest concrete to go ahead and make a bid. And then in the UEFA Champions League last season, he played 14 games, scored 4 goals with no assists, while the season before that, he made 7 appearances in the Champions League and scored 1 goal. So that's Jamie Gittens for you. Vanna is saying, is Gittens one of the best under 25 winger in the market? Under 25 would be quite high. He's only 20 years old, to say the least. But yeah, he's a very, very good prospect. I think you would sort of put him in the same bucket with the likes of Bradley Barcola at Paris Saint-Germain, Nico Williams at Athletic Bilbao, and sort of in that sort of bracket, Morgan Rogers at Aston Villa, who by the way last season at 22 years of age, 37 Premier League appearances, scored 8 goals and provided 10 assists there. So he had an 18 goal contribution. So I think you'd put him in that sort of bracket, really, Jamie Gittens. He's an upcoming player. He could be up for big things, but let's wait and see if he comes any good in that regard, if he does complete the move to Chelsea. He has already agreed to personal terms with Chelsea over a 7-year contract. So that agreement in principle between the player and Chelsea is already in place. But let's keep our eyes peeled for that deal as well and see whether it will go through. Then, so those are really the priorities for Chelsea, but they will be looking looking forward to move on many players. We all know they did sign some players in January. That was Giovanni Quenda, who they left out at Sporting Lisbon for the remainder of the season, and even next season he will be at Sporting Lisbon still on loan, despite signing him for about 44 million pounds. Then they also signed Dario Esugo from Las Palmas for about 18.4 million pounds. He's a holding midfielder from Las Palmas. They signed him in January and left him at Las Palmas on a season-long loan. For the remainder of the season. Then they also did complete the signing of a French centre-back, only 19 years of age, from very young French defender. I need to sort of remember his name. Oh, I'm forgetting. He's is it Musa? Mahmoud Sa, Mamadou Sa. I think that's the name. I think that's the name I'm looking for really. Yeah, Chelsea did sign him from their sister club in Strasbourg. Yes, Mamadou Sa. Yes, he did join Chelsea. A very young player on an 8-year contract. Again, Chelsea will sign anything or any player that is available for sale, really. You do ask about thoughts on Garnacho. Sorry, just asking for your thoughts. Yes, that's all right. Havana, you can ask as many questions as possible. You're really crucial to this debate. When you ask questions, you sort of expand our debates and topics. Anyways, on Garnacho, again, a very young good player. Who is still in his sort of development stage. He does so many, not too many, but he does some immature things. Really, he does some immature things that you think come with his age, really, the age that he is at, and that's to be expected in some form or shape. He needs that bit of guidance on how he leads his life, but in there is a very good player, really. In 36 appearances last season in the Premier League, he scored 6 goals and provided 2 assists. Of course, those numbers are a bit small, are a bit modest for the number of appearances he was able to make. But there is a very good player in there. Unfortunately for him, he seems to not have gotten along really well with Ruben Amorim, especially in the aftermath of losing the UEFA Europa League finals. He did make some comments, again, which are sort of immature, because he said something in the realm of he didn't know why he wasn't in the starting 11 when he had been part of the team throughout the group stages and until the final, trying to help the team, and then suddenly he was dropped for the final, and he was only given 20 minutes to play, which is sort of in one way or the other made the whole loss of the team about himself, and those comments were deemed unwelcome amongst certain Manchester United fans, as well as well-wishers who thought, because let's be honest, in 15 appearances in the UEFA Europa League, he scored only 1 goal and provided 4 assists. Again, that's underwhelming. So it's not like he was posting crazy numbers, really. So, but I think there is a very good player in there that can be polished, and apparently there are 3 Premier League suitors who would want to sign him from Manchester United. For some reason, I do not know whether it's out of wishful thinking or overall media speculation, but Arsenal is one of those that have been mentioned. In light of that conversation, we all know Chelsea's interest in the player dates back to January. They tried to sign him, they couldn't pull it off. Napoli were also interested in January, and that kind of thing, really. So that's what I can say about Alejandro Garnacho. But there is a very good player in there, as young as he is, only 20 years of age. Then I can see you come back to say, outside from football problem, what about the player? The player is really very good. He just, when you're still a bit young and yet you have some money on you, you're bound to be a bit proud and bossy in some way. You may feel proud a bit. Those things are bound to happen really with these kinds of players. So he just needs a good player manager who puts him back in line and sort of shows him the bigger picture. And even though I think Ruben Amorim is capable of doing that, I think the overall environment at Manchester United has not created that kind of a culture and space for players, especially within that age bracket, to sort of go. Just the other day, we've had Jordan Sancho bickering with the manager in Eric Ten Hag, and then we've had a little bit of skirmish or quarrels. I do not know to what length between the manager and Kobe Mino, but maybe that emanates from the point that his contract negotiations with the club were not, making good headway and that kind of thing. So they are bound to happen really with those kinds of players. And then I can see Yukan Tavuk says Osman will go to United. That is Yukan Tavuk. I hope I pronounced your name well. Yukan, welcome to the channel. I think I'm seeing you here for the first time. But if it is true that you're a first time here, please consider subscribing to the channel, but also liking the broadcast as well. You say Vanna came back to say Osman rejected 850k a week. Yes, he did reject that from Al Hilal. They were willing to pay him in the excess of 40 million euros in terms of net pay per season to sign for Al Hilal, but he turned that down. I mean, I sat there thinking that with my modest being, maybe I speak out from a position of poverty or a position of scarcity. How do you turn down that kind of offer? I mean, yes, you may want to play in Europe where majority of the cameras are, but for a player who comes from Nigeria, who we all know how Nigerians love their money and that kind of thing, but usually when the way the African society is structured, in the nature of Ubuntu, because whoever is elevated or whoever succeeds is the one that helps pull up those that are left back, either at family level, at village level, at community level overall. So with all that on your shoulders, I mean, why not go to the Saudi Pro League and make all that money? I mean, it could do a huge difference in the community. Anyway, that's how I looked at it in my personal thinking. As like, how do you turn down all that amount of money? Go make that money. Set yourself up, because as good as the player he is, of course, last season he really, really did well at Galatasaray. I think he scored 26 goals in 29 appearances and provided 5 assists. That's a goal contribution of about 31 in 29 games. So it was quite impressive, really. Those numbers were quite impressive. And then in the Turkish Cup, he scored 5 goals. Then the Europa League, he scored 6 goals. And you look at that. Then when you go back to Napoli, where he made his name, of course, his final season wasn't as good because he scored 15 goals in 25 appearances and provided 3 assists, which was an 18-goal involvement. But still, compared to the number of games he played, that was equally good. And then their Scudetto winning season, that was 2022-2023, he scored 26 goals and provided 4 assists. That's when he caught the eye of most suitors across Europe. But I mean, that kind of money is sort of, even up to now, by the way, I sort of go back and think about it and I'm like, did he really turn that down? Anyways, it is what it is. He made his choice. But it is what it is. But his numbers were really, really impressive. In regards to Yukan saying he will go to Manchester United, well, I mean, he does. He does have this interest for him from teams like Juventus, from Galatasaray themselves, who are willing to break the bank to retain him on a permanent transfer. They are willing to pay Napoli at least 65 million euros to sign him, although his release clause stands at 75 million euros, at which Al Hilal were willing to pay, but the player turned them down. And then in the Premier League, Chelsea have explored a deal with him previously, but last summer, I think they couldn't sign him because of his wages. Chelsea are trying to keep within certain boundaries when it comes to their wages. Could Manchester United sign him? most definitely they can afford him, I think, even when it comes to wages. Although even Manchester United are sort of trying to keep their wages within certain brackets. So I do not know if how or on what account of percentage or on what odds would a deal potentially happen. Because in similar breadth with Nico Williams, who is at Atletico Bilbao and has shooters like Bayern Munich, Arsenal, Chelsea, there are two sticking points. One is the release clause, which is about 60 million euros. And usually when it comes to release clauses, especially with Spanish clubs, they want that money paid in, one lump sum, like one installment. And usually that tends to affect the way clubs go about the rest of their transfer business. But while that could be negotiated to better terms, the other sticking point is to do with Nico Williams' wages. He's on really, really high wages, earning about anywhere between 7 to 8 million euros as net pay per season, according to Florian Plettenberg. So, so with those numbers, it is a bit of a similar situation with Victor Osimhen. Both good players, they are shooters, but their wages are a bit of a sticking point really. That's where the question is with potential moves for them. And then I can see you can say because he wants to play, he didn't want money. Yeah, but even in the Saudi Pro League, you get to play. And by the way, guys, let's get this straight. The Saudi Pro League isn't what it was 3 years ago. As of today, we're talking about very, very competitive teams. At least Al Nassr, Al Ittihad, Al Qadash, Al Hilal, very, very competitive teams. Why? Because Saudi Pro League clubs, with of course some good financial resources, of course backed by government in this football PR that they are trying to build and sort of improving their league as a part of a larger project in the build-up to the World Cup 2030 that is expected to be hosted by Saudi Arabia. They've really, really improved. That's why they've gone for big name players. That's why they broke the bank to sign Cristiano Ronaldo, and that has worked out perfectly for them. Because once Cristiano Ronaldo went there, the dominoes started to fall. You had Karim Benzema go there, Sadio Mane, Neymar. Never mind that things didn't work out for Neymar at Al Hilal. The likes of Ruben Neves, N'Golo Kante, and so many other players, very, very good players that have gone there. Nikola Milenkovic-Savic from Lazio went the same direction. Malcolm, etc. Riyad Mahrez, and they've been intentional on signing players in the age profile of around 28 but usually 30 and onwards. Now they started adding in, a mixture. Jordan Henderson went the same side. Never mind that he quickly left and joined Ajax, and there's consideration apparently for him to rejoin Sunderland, who have been promoted to the Premier League. So, yes, the football there is good. I mean, let's take it back to the World Cup of 2022 and Euro 2024. N'Golo Kante, the Euros 2024. N'Golo Kante, who plays for Al Ittihad, was someone from the Saudi Pro League, and he was one of the best players of the tournament. So that really tells you Cristiano Ronaldo at the age of 40, you've seen what he was able to do at the Portuguese national team and help them win the UEFA Nations League. So it again tells you that there is competition there. It's not like there's no football. Of course, in terms of league strength and profile, they're still only growing. We cannot compare them to the top 5, leagues of Europe, but at least they're growing. So you could play the football and also make the money. The likes of Kalidou Koulibaly went the same side after leaving, I think, Napoli. And then, what's his name? Not Sadio Mane. The former Chelsea goalkeeper. I'm forgetting his name. Benjamin Mendy. Yes, he went the same direction. So that sort of speaks to the overall, league. And then Vanna says he won't play at United though. I think responding to Yukan Tavuk, And then you guys continue to say that you can sign the other Victor, and then Osimhen is a top striker. Yeah, that's true. Very, very top striker. Then Prince Nkosi comes in to say, Osimhen, why did he turn down the Saudi move? Is he still looking at playing in Europe? Yes, yes. Point of correction. Yes, and the name is Edward Mendy. Yes, not Benjamin Mendy. It's Edward Mendy, the former Chelsea goalkeeper, who was part of their UEFA Champions League winning squad in 2021 under Thomas Tuchel. So, in regards to turning down that offer from the Saudi Pro League, to answer you, Prince Nkosi, yes, he still wants to play in Europe apparently, and there is interest in him from Juventus. Of course, Galatasaray want to retain him. There's interest in the Premier League, but because his relationship with Napoli went sour, they want to move him on. They want to part ways with him. That dates to as far back as last summer, and that's how he ended up on loan to Galatasaray. But let's wait and see what European teams will be able to afford him, because from the look of things, I do not know, but largely because of his wage demands, and because he didn't want to get paid anything less than what he was earning at Napoli. And Napoli were looking to move him on to get him off their wage bill, because he was taking he was having a heavy load on their finances. And now, when you rewind things back a bit, when they won the Scudetto in 2023 and qualified for the Champions League, things were good. They could afford to pay him that. But then the subsequent season, they did not qualify. So usually finances take a nosedive and that kind of thing. So they sort of had to struggle a bit. But now they've won again. But given that the relationship is already soiled between him and Napoli want to definitely move him on. But for me, like I said, if I were a brother in his ear, if I were an advisor in his ear, we would have already been on a plane to, Saudi Arabia to go and make that money. I mean, it's crazy money, really, indeed. So that would be the expectation for me, or at least the thought process, like I said, or the way in which I explained it, to be exact. But let's leave Chelsea, let's leave Osimhen at that, and move on with other news, the way it's coming, depending on. Let's speak Leroy Sane. Leroy Sane has turned down an offer, a contract offer from Bayern Munich, and he's going to sign for Galatasaray on a 3-year contract. I think he's still only 29 years of age. So it's a 3-year contract in which it is estimated he could earn around 4 million euros net. I do not know, guys, if you're noticing. Players that are running down their contracts are looking at making more money, especially in a certain realm of age. They are looking to make more money because retirement is around the corner. Now, Bayern Munich had the right offer for Leroy Sane on table. Where they did disagree was because usually these contracts have so many clauses and those kinds. They give you a certain pay, and then some of the other pay comes in bonuses. And in that contract, I think around half or more than 40% of the pay was going to be in the form of incentivized, add-ons in bonuses. So he said, no, I'm not signing that. And Bayern Munich tried and tried. They readjusted the contract, and they still could not come to an agreement. Now, I think it was yesterday, but when a news came out that he was going to be part of Bayern Munich's squad for the FIFA Club World Cup, and we thought, well, maybe he's going to stay with Bayern Munich, but looks like that is not going to be the case. Of course, amidst all those lengthy contract talks, Tottenham Hotspur had inquired about his availability. Arsenal have sort of discussed the possibility of signing him, so much to my own objection, not that it counts even an ounce for the minders of the club in the UK, but at least it was to my objection. And then Galatasaray had an offer on table for him. Fenerbahce, who are Galatasaray's rivals, had an offer on table for him in the excess of about 10 to 12 million euros in net pay, and then Saudi Pro League clubs were equally circling around. Now, here's what happens usually with players that are free agents. For example, this particular case of Leroy Sane, the kinds of deals that they negotiate. For example, they will tell the other club, since you're signing me as a free agent, you're going to pay me maybe 10 million euros as sign-on fees. And then, of course, the agent makes their own demand. Usually, it depends on their negotiating power, really. So there's agent fees as well. So let's say that the entire deal in itself is about 15 million euros, to say the least. And then the player goes on to argue that since you're signing me as a free agent and you're only paying me this small amount, because they'll also look at market valuation, that if you were to buy him, if you had to pay for him, how much would he cost? Let's say 30 million euros or even 50, So they also bring that into consideration and say, you're getting me on a free, you're going to pay me this in sign-on fees, and then the agent gets paid that. And because you're signing me on the free, I want high wages. And maybe if, let's say, they've been on 150 quid at Bayern Munich, they'll say, I want 200,000 pounds per week, or 200,000 euros per week, or in the excess of that. So really, apologies, guys. I hope I'm back. Apologies, guys. I hope I'm back. We did have an internet disruption there. Apologies on that. But anyways, like I was explaining, that's usually what happens. The likes of Kylian Mbappe made lots of money when he joined Real Madrid. Same has gone for Alexander Trent-Arnold. His deal had already been negotiated. Never mind that Real Madrid have had to pay 10 million euros at Liverpool to permit them to have the player part of their squad for the FIFA Club World Cup and that kind of thing. So usually what happens is that when a player is joining the other club as a free agent, they do get a lot of money in sign-on fees, which ideally they wouldn't get when they were being bought from another club. But Leroy Sane is destined for a move to Galatasaray. It remains to be seen whether Bayern Munich will stick to their guns and say, you're still under contract with us, so you're going with us to the FIFA Club World Cup. But let's wait to hear on more what comes from that side. Then Olympique Marseille have signed Angel Gomez on a 3-year deal. He was a free agent. Then Alexander Trent-Arnold will wear the shirt number 12 at Real Madrid. Then we've spoken about Franco Mastattuono, that deal that Real Madrid hijacked from PSG in signing Franco Mastattuono from Liverpool. So, and then the other deal is regarding, Tottenham's managerial replacement. We all know, we've spoken about this at great length. Thomas Frank is headed to Tottenham as the replacement for Ange Postecoglou. So that means that Brentford are looking for a replacement. And at top of their list is Keenan McKenna, but also Scott Parker of Burnley has been added to that shortlist. Scott Parker is one of those good managers, really. Although he burnt sort of his fingers after guiding Bournemouth to the top flights, he was quickly shown the exit. But he's one of the good managers, really, sought after managers. So let's wait and see who Brentford will replace Thomas Frank with. And then, then I want to watch Bayer Leverkusen. Are interested in signing Jarell Quansah from Liverpool as one of the priority centre backs, among other options. That is that is out there. Then Manchester City are signing Sivre Pan. I hope that's how the name is pronounced. But Arsenal were interested, City Group were interested, Aston Villa, and it looks like Man City have beaten all those to his signing. And that deal is close to being complete. And then any other key news? Not really. But so let's go maybe in the transfer gossip and speculation throughout the course of the day. Oh, okay. This is some bit of breaking news regarding Crystal Palace. Now, for those of you that have been following the conversation, Nottingham Forest did write to UEFA about Crystal Palace's conflict of interest in in breaking the UEFA rules in regards to being owned by the same owner. One of the 43% share owner in Crystal Palace, that's an American investor called John Textor. Yes, John Textor, who is also an 88% controlling shareholder in Olympic Lyon. There's conflict of interest because after winning the FA Cup, Crystal Palace qualified to play in the UEFA Europa League, and yet Lyon also qualified to play in the same competition. Now, UEFA does not allow teams owned by the same owner to play in the same UEFA competition. So you ought to have not severed ties, but have relinquished control over one of the clubs. And that is why Evangelos Marinakis are moved to put his ownership or shares into a trust for Nottingham Forest, because he owns Olympiacos. Because his understanding was that, potentially Nottingham Forest could maybe qualify for either the UEFA Champions League and then be the same competition with Olympiacos. So to avoid that, he put that Nottingham Forest into a management trust and that kind of thing, the way it's done. So Crystal Palace make the argument that there's no harm done because John Textor is not involved in the day-to-day running of the club. In any case, he had wanted to be involved, but he's sort of a minority shareholder or a silent partner, for lack of a better term. So they did argue that case, but also he's now being forced, at least that's been the expectation, to sell his shares in Crystal Palace. And that's why, according to David Austin, or according to The Athletic, they say that a consortium of sport and entertainment executives, which includes the NBA star Jim Butler, are expected to make an offer in the excess of $200 million to purchase Eagle Football's 43% stake in Palace. Now, the company or sporting arm of John Textor that does own the 43% stake is called Eagle Football. So they are looking to pay him $200 million to take Palace off his hands. So let's wait and see if they will go through with that or they will succeed. Then Man City are close to signing an agreement with Rosenberg for Severe Pana, that is the 18-year-old we've just spoken about. Manchester City, not among January suitors, but now moving ahead. Subject to finalizing player terms, 18-year-old will be a weapon sale for Norwegian League, plus go on a season-long loan. That's the expectation. That is according to David Austin of The Athletic. Anyways, let's leave that at that and go to some of the transfer speculation that has made the headlines during the course of the day. And among them, of course, has to do with Nico Williams in a pending or potential move to Bayern Munich. It is reported that Nico Williams has now signaled to AFC Bayern Munich that he can be very sorry, I was just checking to see if I'm missing any of your comments, that he's signaled to Bayern Munich that he can't very well imagine a move to Munich. That's why EBA are continuing talks with his management. There has also been a meeting. The release clause is set at around 60 to 65 million. That's according to Florian Plettenberg. His salary demands are around 20 million euros in gross. Bayern Munich are actively working on that deal, but there is no agreement yet. It's still at an early stage. Bradley Barcola remains a desired target, but a transfer is very difficult to realize, as Paris Saint-Germain are determined to keep him. So there's that. So those are some of the reports coming through in regards to Nico Williams. Then we've spoken about Bayer Leverkusen's interest in Leroy Sane. It's really serious. Concrete talks have started between Leverkusen and the players' camp, as well as and Liverpool, but no agreements yet. Now you can see Liverpool has already purchased 2 players from Bayer Leverkusen, Jeremy Frimpong and Florian Wirtz, who is expected to make the switch. Now, Bayer Leverkusen are saying we're interested in Leroy Sane. Now, Liverpool will simply say we value the player at 50 million pounds. At least that's what is being bought in the light of the media. And maybe they settle for maybe 30 million pounds. And then some of the money they are supposed to pay to the other side stays with them because they've made a sale. That's the nature of transfers. Anyways, for football business. But Harvey Elliott is another one to really watch during the course of this transfer window, because he could be on the move away from Liverpool. Does have a good number of suitors in the transfer market, including some from England. Then quickly among the speculation is that Florian Wirtz is set for a Liverpool medical after they agreed a deal in principle with Bayer Leverkusen for the 22-year-old German midfielder worth 127 million pounds, according to Fabrizio Romano. But again, Florian Wirtz, I think we should do a video about this deal, like separately, in regards to what it could mean for the rest of the transfer window and the transfer market for the business of the other teams that they may look to conduct. So I do not know, Vanna, one of your messages has been retracted. I do not know why. That's why I've been unable to read it. But anyways, moving forward, Martin Zubimendi to Arsenal, we'll discuss that extensively, and it's considered to be a done deal. And then Manchester United are evaluating an offer for Napoli's Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen, using Netherlands forward Joshua Zirkzee, who is now 24, as part of the deal. I think this speaks to what what's his name? It speaks to what oh, I've lost your name. I've lost your name. Yes. What you can Tavuk I was speaking about. It speaks to that. When he did say that Victor Osimhen will join Manchester United, it's because there's a potential deal that sort of puts. There's a potential deal in which Man United can sign him while offering Joshua Zirkzee on the other end. So that is a possibility. These swap deals can happen, and it is plausible. So that is according to Gazzetta dello Sport or dello Sport in Italy, bringing that news. And then RB Leipzig is a 22-year-old Slovenian striker Benjamin Sesko, a reported target for Arsenal, rejected moves to Saudi Pro League. That is Al Hilal. Yes, they did try to sign him. They tried to make a move for him, but he did reject that move. Like I did say, I would have been really, really surprised if he had decided to go to the Saudi Pro League. And the reason for that specifically is that last summer, he turned down an opportunity to join Arsenal saying he wanted to continue his development at RB Leipzig, and that's how he ended up signing a new contract. So, which puts RB Leipzig in a very comfortable seat, negotiating his potential transfer. So, and then, and then, and then RB Leipzig are also holding a firm on the full release clause for Benjamin Sesko, which apparently has sort of caused a bit of frustration between them and Arsenal over the transfer of the 22-year-old Slovenian striker. Then Hungary left back Milos Kakez, 21, is on the verge of a 45 million pound move to Liverpool after Bournemouth agreed a deal to sign French left back Adrian Trafford, there, 23 years of age, from Stade Lens. That's according to the Telegraph. And then Newcastle. Now, we've spoken about Milos Kakez for a very long period of time now on this channel in regards to his pending move to Liverpool. That's also close, according to the Athletic, is David Ornstein. But I think Bournemouth wanted to first identify a potent replacement and agree that deal before they could, go ahead to permit the transfer of the Serbian-born Hungarian international there in Milos Kakez. So they did agree to sign. Adrian Trafford from Stade Rennes. And then Newcastle have opened negotiations with Burnley about the signing of English goalkeeper James Trafford, although Scott Parker did say he does not want to lose James Trafford. There, a former, I think, Man City Academy player. Very, very good goalkeeper, by the way, only 22 years of age. Then Gianluigi Donnarumma wants to stay at Paris Saint-Germain, despite Manchester United and Inter Milan inquiring about the Italian goalkeeper's availability. That's according to ESPN. Now, he only has 1 year left to his contract, and apparently Real Madrid could consider making a move for him as a permanent replacement for Thibaut Courtois. So that is also in the running there. And then Brighton will nice to Nico to Bayern Munich is an uncalled move. Bundesliga, not really competitive league for such young inspiration. I wouldn't want to say that. I wouldn't agree with you on that because, and simply because we've just seen the kinds of numbers that what's his name, Florian Wirtz has posted for the last 2 seasons at Bayer 04, where he's had a 22 goal involvement in both of the last 2 seasons. In one squad, their title winning season, scoring 11 goals and providing 11 assists. Yes, and then last season scoring 10 and providing 12 assists. So I wouldn't say it doesn't suit young players. We're talking about Jamie Gittens, who is of interest to Chelsea. But then also last summer, if you do remember, Michael Olise, who is only 23 years of age, made the move from Crystal Palace to Bayern Munich, and he turned out to do incredibly well. He scored 12 goals and provided 15 assists in 34 games. There, so yes, I do sort of okay. By sheer comparison, I would acknowledge that maybe the level of competition in the German Bundesliga, in some form or shape, could be a bit lacking, but I wouldn't say it doesn't suit young players. And then in the UEFA Champions League, he made 14 appearances, scored 5 goals, and provided 2 assists. He had, by the way, a very, very wonderful season. Michael Olise, although he did not get to receive the kind of PR that the likes of Bradley Barcola, Desiree Doué have been able to receive, or the one that Jamal Musiala did enjoy recently. Speaking of which, Jamal Musiala is one of the other youngsters in the German Bundesliga. I think in the morning we were talking about the transfer fee for Florian Wirtz and saying if indeed Florian Wirtz costs you 150 million euros, what happens if you go for another 22-year-old in Jamal Musiala, whose numbers at Bayern Munich have been sort of really, really impressive over the last couple of seasons? Because last season He made 25 appearances. Of course, he had some injury troubles and scored 12 goals, provided 2 assists. Then 2023-2024, 10 goals, 6 assists. That's a 16-goal involvement. At 2022-2023, 33 appearances, 12 goals and 10 assists. That's a 22-goal involvement. Now, you could say he regressed a bit, but I think it also speaks to a bit of responsibility that has been taken off his shoulders in the last 2 seasons as well. With Hurricane being signed in the summer of 2023, which made him the primal goal scorer. You say, Amelin says, was like Nico to Bayern is a wrong move. Bundesliga is not a competitive league for such young players. Yes. And you did say he's a young inspiration. That's true. For Nico Williams, last season, by the way, I thought he was underwhelming, especially in the Spanish La Liga. He did not hit the numbers that many of us had hoped he would hit. But that notwithstanding, every time you watch him on that Spanish national team, he's quite the game. He's quite the revelation of a player. He's quite very, very brilliant. One you do enjoy to watch. Really, if you do follow some of those games. And every time I've watched him, I've sort of come to a more understanding of why teams are really, really interested in signing him. Very, very good player. So I think when a player goes to a team like Bayern Munich, I think that's a good move. That's a good move because this company has decided to, trust some young players, and that's why he's interested in signing him. And then he's also interested in signing a French defender from Burnley. I think the young defender is called Maximin something. I forget his name, but he's called Maximin. I think Maximin something there at Burnley. So he is choosing to trust young players as Bayern also go through. So I think a phase of re-evolving and rebuilding, getting rid of some of the market players. Very soon, you'll see the likes of Manuel Neuer out, Thomas Muller is out. You will see the likes of Joshua Kimmich and Leon Goretzka exiting and things of that nature. So, of course, they will retain some senior players and phase them out slowly by slowly. That's how they've kind of been doing it over the years, but they're into that sort of period of transition in a bit. Anyways, then now Brighton will accept a bid of 50 to 60 million pounds for 23-year-old Brazilian forward. That is Joao Pedro. Joao Pedro has been linked with a potential move to Newcastle. Arsenal have been mentioned in those conversations. And I think Liverpool were the other team that were mentioned for Joao Pedro, only 23 years of age. Very, very good player, although he also has his, anger management issues, maybe, but he's definitely a good player. And then Chelsea are open for offers for Benoit Badiashile and Axel Disasi. We said just as much. I think for Axel Disasi and Benoit Badiashile, mid-table teams should be the ones coming for them. If you're a team like Everton and let's say you're going to get rid of Jared Braithwaite, then you could look potentially to sign one of these. If you're Crystal Palace and you're on the verge of losing Mark Day, who, by the way, according to some speculation today, has also been linked with the potential to move to Arsenal, although I do not know how concrete those reports are, but you could look at one of these options. I think with lesser pressure in those teams, I think they could sort of thrive in a way. And then Inter Milan are keen on signing a 21-year-old Paraguay midfielder, Julio Enciso, from Brighton and Hove Albion this summer, while Al Hilal is bid to sign French midfielder N'Golo Kante on a short-term deal from Saudi rivals for the FIFA Club World Cup collapsed because of fan backlash. That's according to TalkSport. So that is some of the speculation that has been making the rounds through the course of the day. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very, very long summer of transfer deals. And then more to that has to do with Jordan Sancho. Jordan Sancho, there's interest for him in the Saudi Pro League clubs, as well as some noises around around the Premier League. But so Aston Villa, Newcastle, and Tottenham are monitoring developments with Jordan Sancho after the England wingers returned to Manchester United following a loan spell from Chelsea. That's according to the Sun. So Newcastle, I think for a team like Aston Villa are having challenges to do with their finances. The profit and sustainability rules are really they seem to be having issues there. And until they sort that out, let's wait and see what kind of business they will be able to do in the transfer window. But those are some of the reports coming through. Jordan Sancho may have interest from some of these teams, and he could come cheap. Around £20 million could be enough to, assign him away. And I think he could do well again with some of these teams where the pressure is less. Maybe the media won't be on him as that much if he can't really. But he also has challenges with time management. I do not know if we will get along with any of those managers, but let's hope and wait. Then Everton and Newcastle are leading the West to sign England forward Jack Grealish to Manchester City this summer. Again, we've spoken about Jack Grealish at great length. And then Bayer Leverkusen's interest in Jarell Quasha, that one we've equally spoken about at great length. Then Darwin Núñez, we've spoken about that as well. That Liverpool are open to letting him go, with Al Hilal, interested. Al Hilal being among the many Saudi Pro League clubs that could be interested in signing the 25-year-old Uruguayan striker. And then Núñez, though, is understood to favor staying in Europe with a move to Spain or Italy being his preference. So that's according to the Mirror. So then Athletic Bilbao hope to agree a pay rise and contract extension with 22-year-old Spanish winger Nico Williams to stave off interest from Bayern Munich, Arsenal, and Chelsea. That's according to Marca in Spain. It is true that Athletic Bilbao have opened talks with Nico Williams over a new contract in which they want to increase his release clause from about 58 million euros to around 60 or 65, according to reported figures, and increase that significantly, but also increase his wages. So he could be going to about 10 or even 12 million euros net in terms of wages. But let's wait and see how things develop in that regard. Then Williams has told Bayern he's open to the move. We'll discuss that as well. And then we've spoken about Leroy Sane making the move to Galatasaray. We've spoken about Wolves, Everton, and Fulham are eyeing the move for 32-year-old Czech Republic right back Vladimir Kolfo, who is a free agent after leaving West Ham United. And then Nottingham Forest are rivaling Leeds and Sunderland for 31-year-old Mozambique left back Reynaldo Mandava, who is out of contract with Atletico Madrid this summer. And then Real Betis have offered a 3-year deal to Dominican Republic left back Junior Firpo, whose Leeds contract is set to expire, although the 28-year-old is also considering an offer to stay at Elland Road and another from Lyon. That's according to Mundo Deportivo in Spanish. And then Chelsea have put Serbian goalkeeper Petrovic up for sale, with Leeds among the clubs interested in signing the 25-year-old. That's according to Team Talk. While the Telegraph says Petrovic asked to be left out of Chelsea's Club World Cup squad so that he can focus on securing a move. And then Manchester City are close to reaching an agreement. We've spoken about the Rosenborg 18-year-old Norwegian midfielder Sverre Halseth Pan. I'm not mispronouncing some of these names, but they are Norwegian names, and I'm not Norwegian. So kindly bear with me. While Liverpool Plate's Argentine midfielder, that's Franco Mastattuano, did agree to join Real Madrid. That pretty much we spoke about at great length of how Real Madrid, snapped the player under the watch of PSG. And then Brazilian forward Rodrigo wants to stay at Real Madrid. Pretty much we've spoken about that, but let's wait and see. Now, I think one of the reasons that's why I'll be trying to watch or even follow games from the FIFA Club World Cup for Real Madrid is to suddenly see how much game playing time will be afforded to Rodrigo Goes. If he's frozen out and gets very limited time, I think that would further frustrate him and see that a potential move away from Real Madrid, which they are open to for the right value, I believe to be in the excess of 90 to 100 million euros. He could potentially leave, with Arsenal really, really interested, while Chelsea is among the other teams that are also interested in the 24-year-old Brazilian forward. So, guys, there you have it. It's been 1 hour and 41 minutes of us doing this. It's been a pleasure, always a pleasure. Let me see if I hope I didn't miss any comments. For those who had some of their comments struck down, apologies on that. But before I sign out, guys, I wish to bring you to the know that in case you're interested in learning digital skills like cyber security, coding, and web design, then do not hesitate to check out Ebo State. They are based in Kampala, in Kansanga, Kampala, Uganda. They do offer those, trainings for web design, cyber security, and coding are very, very important digital skills. I'll leave their link down in the description so that you can check them out. You're eligible for a 5% discount should you choose to train with them. They do offer both in-person and online training sessions, as well as career guidance, but also help their trainees find jobs in the dynamic digital world after training. So there you have it. It's been a pleasure having you guys. Thank you so much for your contribution. I wish to say thank you to Just Nothing, then Lucid Gamer, Charles, then Pande, Just Nothing. We mentioned that one, and then Prince Nkosi, a usual suspect. Vanna did join us for the first time today. Very, very beautiful engagement. Much appreciated for the love and support. And then we did have Yukan Tavuk also joining us for the very first time, at least in the best of my memory. But thank you so much, guys, for joining us. And then the usual suspect there, Amlin, always contributing to some of these conversations. But thank you so much, guys, for the love and support. Thank you for being part of this debate and conversation. Let's do this again tomorrow morning. And we discuss whatever news there will be, or sort of get back into some of the wider conversations regarding to some of those players and your favorite clubs around Europe. Otherwise, have yourselves a wonderful rest of the night. Bye-bye.